Right now, on to the point, California's home insurance crisis.
The current commissioner has failed his obligations to the consumers.
The reforms put in place and the critics who question them. The healthcare battle continues on Capitol Hill.
The Speaker must call a vote on this proposal today.
As the deadline looms for Affordable Care Act subsidies, Venezuela showdown. Trump orders a blockade with allies demanding answers. And planes, trains, and automobiles. More Americans are hitting the road for the holidays, but at what cost? We start tonight with California's home insurance crisis. Thank you for joining us. I'm Alex Bell. Strong words from a former insurance commissioner accusing the current commissioner of failing his obligations to consumers. This as many homeowners continue to struggle to find affordable and available fire insurance for their house. ABC 10's Becca Hobbecker joins us live in studio. Becca, we've really been covering this growing crisis for more than 6 years now, especially you in particular.
Yeah, and as we've reported, the current insurance commissioner, Ricardo Lara, has put reforms into place called the Sustainable Insurance Strategy. Now, he and the Department of Insurance argue that is working slowly but surely. Critics disagree.
The current commissioner has failed his obligations to the consumers.
That's Democratic California Congressman John Garamendi and former California Insurance Commissioner. He spoke Wednesday on a call hosted by an advocacy group called Unlocking America's Future, which is committed to exposing and combating the property insurance industry's exploitation of policyholders, according to its website.
The first commandment of the insurance industry is to pay as little as late as possible.
Garamendi criticized California Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara for what he calls failing to hold insurance companies accountable. He cited a new report out from Unlocking America's Future.
We're releasing a new report that shows how insurance companies are pulling out of the state while simultaneously raising premiums to record levels and denying claims at rates we've never seen before.
As ABC 10 has reported, California's state-mandated, insurance company-funded insurer of last resort, the FAIR Plan, has ballooned in the last several years as many homeowners were left with no other choice. In the past year, on average, the FAIR Plan saw more than 20,000 people per month newly come onto the plan. ABC 10 reached out to the California Department of Insurance for a response to all this. They didn't make anyone available for an interview, but emailed ABC 10 the following quote from Commissioner Lara in part. Despite the misleading political attacks, major insurance companies are committing to stay and grow in California. This marks a major turning point. We will be getting people off the FAIR Plan. Consumers, homeowners, nonprofits, and small business are going to be able to get coverage on their own terms. Our priority is to safeguard wildfire survivors from unfair and illegal insurer practices by ensuring a thorough review of complaints and facts related to potential violations, while facilitating the prompt payment of claims. He encourages anyone who believes they are experiencing unfair or illegal treatment from their insurer to report it to the department. California's Fair Claims Practices Act lays out strict rules for insurers, requiring prompt investigation and fair settlement of claims.
Unfortunately, it is of no use whatsoever unless there's some policemen out there and some judges that are willing to make that law a reality and hold the companies to the law.
The California FAIR Plan submitted a request to the Department of Insurance back in late September to raise its rates on average by 35.8%. The department says that application is still under review. And by the way, Californians will elect a new insurance commissioner in November as Lara terms out. Alex.
All right, Becca, thank you. Let's get into the nation's healthcare battle. And look, if you have any questions, please let us know. I know that this can be a little bit of a complicated topic, but we want to give you some updates that came out today. 4 Republican lawmakers are now backing a Democratic effort to extend Affordable Care Act subsidies. That means Democrats now have enough signatures on their discharge petition to require a floor vote on the subsidies. Those enhancements are set to expire on January 1st, but that vote will not happen until sometime in January. If the Affordable Care Act subsidies lapse, analysts say many people will see their health care costs increase significantly. Today, House Speaker Mike Johnson denying that he lost control of the House.
We have the smallest majority in U.S. history. Okay? These are not normal times. There are processes and procedures in the House that are less frequently used when there are larger majorities. And when you have the luxury of having 10 or 15 people who disagree on something, you don't have to deal with it.
Meanwhile, Democratic leaders remain hopeful.
I think we've got a chance, and that's what all we've been asking for, is to give us a chance to vote on a bill that protects more families from these outrageous health insurance premiums. I wouldn't want to be a Republican going home and trying to explain my opposition to that.
Today, the House did pass a narrow health care package. It will allow small businesses and self-employed people to buy coverage through association health plans in an effort to lower premiums. It will also provide federal funding for cost-sharing subsidies that lower-income ACA enrollees get to help lower their deductibles. The bill does not address those expiring Affordable Care Act subsidies. The bill now goes to the Senate, but a vote isn't expected before lawmakers leave the town for holidays. The three-day hearing on the federal lawsuit challenging California's Proposition 50, the ballot measure to temporarily redraw state congressional lines, wrapped up just this morning. A three-panel judge is deciding whether California's temporary redrawing of its congressional maps to give Democrats a 5-seat advantage is still constitutional. California leaders did so in response to Texas's mid-decade redistricting to give Republicans 5 more seats, but were sued by California Republicans and the U.S. Department of Justice. But soon after the Prop 50 lawsuit was filed, the Supreme Court upheld Texas's redistricting despite concerns it diluted minority votes.
And yet in California, the argument is minority votes, particularly Latino communities, would be enhanced. And so how could that be unlawful racial gerrymandering, but diluting minority votes wouldn't be?
Although the lawsuit alleges that if the initial creation of the maps had race as a factor at all, the maps would make the maps unconstitutional. Republican Assemblymember David Tongipaw on the plaintiffs argues that requirement under the Voting Rights Act is that race can be considered in drawing lines only when it would give equal opportunity to all voting blocs.
We really wish that the map maker, Paul Mitchell, would have came and testified, because we believe that if he would have been asked, what did you mean when you stated about Latino voters? He would have had to say, yes, I was talking about race.
The nearly 400-page transcription of Mitchell's 7-hour deposition shows multiple claims of legislative privilege by his attorneys, like when he was asked to explain the process of drawing the maps. Mitchell declined to comment. Whichever side loses, and Tongipaw did confirm from the Republican side, they will likely appeal to the Supreme Court. Tensions are brewing tonight after President Trump orders a blockade targeting Venezuelan oil tankers, a move critics warn edges toward an act of war. And Democrats roll out a new cost-cutting push and give the president an F on the economy, but details and questions remain.
And we are moving into a much wetter pattern starting this weekend, continuing through Christmas. Several inches of rain on the way. We'll talk about that after the break.
But first, in other headlines tonight, the manhunt continues in Providence, Rhode Island for the suspect in Saturday's mass shooting at Brown University. Police now have a new image of a second person they are trying to identify, who they say was seen near the person of interest. Officials say they have received nearly 200 actionable tips. They have not yet identified a motive. Employees at the Louvre Museum voted to extend a strike that has disrupted operations at the world's most visited museum. Union workers were protesting chronic understaffing, building deterioration, and recent management decisions. Pressures intensified by a brazen crown jewels heist in October. The museum was already closed Tuesday for its regular weekly shutdown. And the Oscars are moving from broadcast TV to streaming starting in 2029. The Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts and Sciences announced today it signed a multi-year deal with YouTube. It gives the streaming platform exclusive global rights to the Oscar ceremony. The move signifies a shift in the media industry as streaming platforms like YouTube and Netflix gain power from veteran broadcast stations. For decades, the Oscars have aired on ABC, which is owned by Disney. Well, we saw a little bit of sunshine today, and Brendan, it was actually pretty warm, wasn't it?
The warmest day since November 15th in Sacramento. Made it to 64 this afternoon, 66 in Stockton, 64 in Vacaville, 65 in Fairfield, 62 in Modesto. Temperatures for the first time since December 3rd were running above normal this afternoon. Quite a bit above normal, in fact, by about 10 degrees. Right now, 53 Sacramento, 58 in Stockton, 55 in Modesto, 30s and 40s up in the high country. Thursday morning, all right, listen, Fog is coming back. We're going to have another day with Thule fog, but it's just one day. Thursday morning, we're going to have some patchy fog in the valley, temperatures in the 40s, but that Thule fog is going to be building in. Tomorrow, it briefly returns. I'm expecting mostly gray tomorrow. Not a lot of clearing, a little bit possible, but for the most part, it's going to be another gray day. Temperatures should remain in those mid-50s across much of the valley. However, it's because we're going back into a more stable weather pattern just for one day. Looking at tomorrow, this model is not necessarily doing a good job picking up on that Thule fog, but I do expect it to be there across the valley. But by the time we get into Friday, well, now we're talking about rain again. So that fog's going away. We're going to have a different type of gray, a kind of beneficial gray, if you will, that comes with some rain. And that rain's going to continue from Friday a little bit into Saturday, with a brief pause Saturday morning before the next system comes in later on Saturday, then another system on Sunday. And this is a Pineapple Express system, so this is going to be a lot of rain. It's also going to be a very warm storm, which is why you see snow levels here roughly above 8,000 feet. Not expecting really pass level snow until we get into Monday. We do have a weather impact alert Sunday and Monday because of this Pineapple Express coming in. It's going to bring heavy rain, likely 1 to 2 inches of valley rain between Saturday night and Monday night. That's when we're going to see that rain. High snow levels until we get into Monday afternoon. Then we'll start to see some pass level snow. Go ahead and evaluate those travel plans for Sunday and Monday. But I want to be really clear that it's not just Saturday, Sunday, Monday that we're going to see rain. You see this atmospheric river is continuing to point towards Northern California as we head all through Christmas week. This is Christmas Eve, and we've still got that atmospheric river wrapping here into Northern California. So that means this chart starts on Saturday, ends on the 26th. The next Friday, you can see this model. This is the European model showing over 4 inches of rain in Sacramento over roughly the next 7 days. So it's not just where we've got that weather impact alert right now on Sunday, Monday. We're tracking more heavy rain as we move through Christmas. Alex.
All right, Brendan, thank you. Economic worries aren't grounding holiday plans this year. A record number of Americans are predicted to travel for the holidays, with airports bracing for one of the busiest seasons ever. And one airline is helping customers cash in on a popular trend. The catch, the travel dates, and why a phrase nobody can really even explain is now tied to your next trip. Welcome back in. Just moments ago, President Donald Trump addressed the nation, reviewing his first year in office and previewing his agenda for 2026. Tonight, he began his speech by blaming the Biden administration for the country's challenges.
11 months ago, I inherited a mess, and I'm fixing it. When I took office, inflation was the worst in 48 years, and some would say in the history of our country, which caused prices to be higher than ever before, making life unaffordable for millions and millions of Americans. This happened during a Democrat administration, and it's when we first began hearing the word affordability.
Tonight's speech came as Trump faces low approval ratings, particularly on the economy, amid a slowdown in hiring and an uptick in inflation. We have President Trump's entire speech on the free ABC 10 Plus TV streaming out if you do want to check it out. All right, ahead of the president's address to the nation, Democrats unveiled a new initiative to lower costs while speaking out about the president's track record since he took office, basically giving the president an F grade on his economy report card.
The facts are, Americans are telling a lot different story than Trump's own self-grade. He promised he'd bring costs down on day one. That was his number one promise. That was the number one reason he won the election. And costs are going up and up and up. It's been 331 days since he was sworn in, and the American people are still waiting for his promise to be fulfilled.
Schumer says Democrats are going to work on lowering costs in 5 different areas, including health care, energy, housing, groceries, and President Trump's tariffs. They plan to return to these issues in the coming weeks. They did not, however, give specifics on how they plan to lower costs. Now to the rising tensions with Venezuela, which is responding after President Trump ordered a blockade of tankers going in and out of the country. ABC's Olivia Rubin has the latest.
Today, tensions rising after President Trump's major escalation with Venezuela, ordering a, quote, total and complete blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers going in and out of the South American country. A full blockade is an act of war under international law, but Trump saying he only wants to block sanctioned oil tankers. Venezuela now responding to the move that could cripple its economy, calling the president reckless, the order a violation of international law, seeking the U.S. when to take action. The escalation just the latest after the U.S. seized an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela last week. And after dozens of strikes on vessels the administration says are carrying drugs. Trump says it's all about stopping the flow of drugs. But in a new interview, his chief of staff seeming to contradict that, indicating the administration could be eyeing regime change of President Nicolas Maduro. Susie Wiles telling Vanity Fair magazine the president, quote, wants to keep on blowing up boats until Maduro cries uncle. And people way smarter than me on that say he will. Now, lawmakers on Capitol Hill seeking answers.
If this is about regime change, it seems to me that the administration should say that's what it is and should come to Congress to ask for that authorization, which has not taken place.
Even some Republicans saying the administration should come to Congress for authorization.
We should demand that we authorize. I would vote for it.
And now Venezuela's defense minister pushing back to calling President Trump's statement, quote, delusional. Olivia Rubin, ABC News, New York.
President Trump says that he is considering an executive order to reclassify marijuana as a less dangerous drug, a decision that could reshape the cannabis industry, ease criminal penalties, and unlock billions in research funding. He spoke about it during an event at the Oval Office on Monday.
A lot of people want to see it, the reclassification, because it leads to tremendous amounts of research that can't be done unless you reclassify. So we are looking at that very strongly.
Analysts say the federal government would likely remain far short of making cannabis use legal throughout the nation. All right, let's get into your price points. Even though Americans may not feel so confident about the overall economy right now, that is definitely not stopping people from hitting the roads for the holiday season. Multiple forecasts see record numbers of holiday travelers. Karen Kafa is in Washington with a look at which costs are up and down.
Americans aren't letting economic uneasiness stop them from hitting the roads, the rails, and the airports for the holidays.
The uncertain economy is certainly not stopping them from holiday travel. This is yet another record season.
AAA forecasts 122.4 million U.S. travelers will take a trip at least 50 miles from home during the end-of-year holiday travel period. That's up 2.2% from 2024. About 90% of holiday travelers, AAA says, will go by car, with the national average for a gallon of gas sitting below $3 thanks to crude oil prices down 20% from this time last year. In the skies, industry trade group Airlines for America anticipates domestic airlines will carry 52.6 million passengers between December 19th and January 5th, up 1.5% over 2024. Expedia's Melanie Fish says passengers who want to travel with minimal crowds should avoid the highest volume days.
The busiest day for air travel is shaping up to be that Saturday right before Christmas. And then the second busiest day is shaping up to be the 26th, the day right after Christmas.
Airlines for America predicts U.S. Airlines will add 72,000 seats each day of the holiday stretch. Sarah Kopit, editor-in-chief for travel news site Skift, says airlines have prepared for the rush as best they can, even as the nation grapples with an ongoing air traffic controller shortage.
The airports and the airlines, they are confident that this season they'll be able to handle anyone who wants to come out and fly.
Now, if you're one of the people who has not booked your holiday travel yet, look, Expedia says that there are still some seats available, but you're just going to be paying more for them. However, if you do love a good holiday travel deal, listen to our next story. Southwest Airlines is jumping in on the 6-7 trend. The airline is offering $67 flights for basic economy tickets, calling it the trendiest sale ever. The deal applies to Tuesday and Wednesday domestic flights between January 6th and March 4th for some destinations. Tickets have to be purchased by December 18th. And look, 6-7 is a phrase used really by kids and teens. Apparently it's from a song. Nobody can really explain what it means, but everybody, I'm sure your kids, your students, your grandkids, they've all probably been saying it. After the break, a look at what we're working on for tomorrow, including our champions, a hope, a family providing food for their community. Tomorrow on To The Point, we introduce you to the Reedy family who is proving small ideas can make a big difference. What started with a few backyard chickens is now helping put food into the hands of children who need it most. But now the local farm has launched a new program as a way to bring food to people right in their own community.
Just doing what feels right. The world has changed so much and it can be easy for people to forget at the end of the day, we're all just a community.
From granola bars to fruit, snacks, and pretzels, we'll show you how this family is reinvesting their own profits back into the community to try and bring food to kids and families in need. That is tomorrow right here on To The Point. As always, thank you so much for watching, for always inviting us into your home. Don't forget the president did just speak, so if you do want to catch his full speech, we do have that up on our ABC 10 app right now. He did mention a few things. He mentioned that checks are in the mail for U.S. troops, checks that are $1,776. He also had some other good information, so make sure you head over to our streaming app to check that out.